Right. So we should have some degree of actual functionality now. There we go. At least it looks to be functioning. We'll try and put some music on in the background, so we'll shift that back over there and then try and find Pretzlings to have a little bit of background tunage. I don't know precisely how background it's going to end up being, but it should be relatively background. But yes, I suppose my stream manager's probably dead over there as well, so that's not hugely useful, but never mind, I suppose. These things are sent to try our patience, never fucking mind. Stream manager, there we go. It looks like the stream manager is in. I don't care about your offer, Mr. Pretzels. I suppose, do you have a Christmas station? I suppose you might do. Well, it's called Happy Holidays, but it is technically a Christmas station, it would seem. That is alarmingly loud in my ear. I don't think it's going to be that loud in yours. There we go. Okay. So I don't know. That track sounds really quite off, but oh no, I don't like it. Okay, you're gonna do a better one now. It's perhaps unfair, but it just sounded a bit too crackly and weird. Anyway, right, here we go. So I don't know if there's anybody left now, but we are actually rocking and rolling now. So there should be, yes, marvellous. Right. So I'm assuming nobody's actually seen this because I haven't posted any pictures yet. Well, there's two people who have seen this. I haven't posted any pictures elsewhere. But yeah, there's a Ickle Chimney, Ickle Spooderman. I will glue this eventually, but I want to paint the inside of the chimney. Chimney plus Spoodermoon equals Spider Santa-Moon. Da, 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 da. And as with all the other miniatures I've done, I don't think you can really see that. That's pretty much all grey, although you can probably just see a slight off of the grey. And a slight off of the grey there. And then I'll try and do it so it actually does. Oh, hang on. I can't locate the two. There we go. I don't know if that was obvious or not, but I mean, it's not falling off, so you can probably tell it's magnetised. So let's see. I don't know which bit I'm going to do first. Spidey is off to the back burner for now. I will try and do some Spider-Man because I have got a rough plan as to how to do Spoodermoon. But for now, what I want to do is I'm going to just grab this base and get that relatively sorted. I just want to confirm in my own brain, more so than anything else, precisely what colour I plan on doing. I've sort of got an idea in my head, but those ideas are often adjustable. But I don't know, I'm assuming maybe you possibly left, I don't know, but we had Mr. Blue Bush and Mr. Button-Up in, and if you are still there, welcome. Welcome to the sort of first Christmas special. If you are still present, usual questions apply. How are you? And what are you doing? Are you up to anything interesting? Oh, I don't really need that control near me at the moment, so we shall just have to have a go. Right, yeah, let's have a go with this. Let's move those two out of the way for now. So out the way. Running low on space, as is the norm, but I suppose... I'm sorry, is this the horror Christmas song? It sounds like the horror Christmas song, because that sounded disturbing, the way it came in with ho 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 ho. Did I? Oh no, good. I thought I'd genuinely put away the one paint I actually wanted. So that would have sucked. Right, let's see. I've got many brushes. My friend is many brushes. What's his name? His name is Many Brushes. Those three currently for the base. And then we'll move the chimney out of the way so that hopefully I'll lose the brush on the floor, because that's always useful. Right, so we've got a suitable array of brushes to sort out the first coat of this. Now, what I probably want to do is, because I probably will be working fairly close to the desk on this occasion. Let's see, that's going to get in the way. Let's move that piece of kit. And I did say piece of kit. Sort of come out and over a little bit. And then try and make it roughly straight. And that's incredibly not straight. Right. That's going to be very awkward position-wise, but we shall see how we fare. If it proves troublesome, we can always move everything around again. Yeah, I don't. All I want is a few scoops. That's oddly familiar. I mean, I suppose they're all Christmas ho 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 type songs. It's just that one in particular felt oddly familiar. Right, so I need to continue using that brush for a moment or two. Possibly a little bit thin, but won't make a huge amount of difference right now. So we shall see. What happens? Right. Let's see. My hand's probably going to be roughly there. And what is that? That appears to be a void. Oh, I know what that is. That is where I need the camera slightly further like that. That was the hinge. It might have been more obvious to anybody viewing. I specified I haven't really got the room with the camera quite so low, so I think we're going to have to go up a little bit more so that my hands have enough room to actually manoeuvre themselves around on the thing. Right, here we go. All I'm doing is just a simple coat of, as I say, alarmingly thin. This is Warp Fiend Grey for anybody who wanted to take notes. But also, slightly concerned that base coat didn't apply itself as well as it should have, but oh well. We'll carry on anyway. As I say, I think ultimately I've just put a little bit too much water in this when I was mixing that paint, but never mind. Shouldn't make too much difference. So this base is going to be my Spider-Man base in general, not just Spidey Santa, which is mostly why I did the whole magnetisation thing. Because this special Santa variation, Santa-Spidey, will in fact work a little bit better. Because I can use him at Christmas and then not use him year round. The only slight issue, of course, is this is a piece of street and I'm going to paint it like a piece of street. And of course there is a chimney. So it's one of those very rare street chimneys. Give it a bit more. That's not so bad. I rotated in the wrong direction. Almost summoned a demon. Because of course that's what happens if you rotate your figure in the wrong direction 3 times. But who defines the right direction? I don't know. I suppose I define the right direction, because if I said it was the wrong direction, I've already defined the right direction. Trying to get it smooth. Maybe more difficult than you would think, but still. There you go, that can probably got nowhere to put anything. I'll keep it up in the corner there so you can literally watch paint dry. Maybe even I'll zoom in and you can really emphatically watch paint dry. Real good. Right, now what I'm thinking is, while that is drying, I might as well get on with something else, and that something else might as well be that chimney. So, how best to do the chimney? I think maybe, yeah, probably pop it on there like that, perhaps. Unless I want to, I don't know how well that's going to work as a strategy. No time like the present to find out, I suppose. You and you, please, over there. Do 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 do. There is a thing. I see, there's a sly face from, there's a smirk from Mr. Omer. I suppose, I don't know why I said Omer instead of can't sleep, but never mind. Right, so here's the plan. Whoa! Okay. That was surprisingly, I don't think there's not really the, yeah, surprisingly powerful. But that should give me the orientation I require. Although if it's that powerful, it may not make that much difference. But it should just, with a bit of luck. Well, I don't know if that's going to necessarily help with the idea. That's just flat, so I think what I do need is I do need a stack of bits. Well, that's interesting. What's that? Oh, I see. That was weird. Oh, I know what I've done. I know what I've done. It's fine. Let's try. applying those two. And the theory, at least, it's not quite as steady as I wanted. Let's just try one, see if that will. Still not exactly the steadiest. Maybe this was not the idea that I thought it was. Yeah. I don't know how much difference it would have made. For anybody wondering why I'm fucking around with trying to get the magnets in the blue tack and not just sticking the fucking blue tack on, it's because I was wondering if I was going to be able to sort of, if I squidge it into the blue tack, of course, there was a possibility that I wouldn't be able to paint the very bottom of the thing. And of course, that would have been awkward. Very much an awkward sausage. I'll tell you one thing I might need to check here. Oh, you've just checked it for me. Marvellous. Oh, that's interesting.
Hello there.
Hello, good evening, General Vice-Chancellor Dragonfang. Merry Christmas to you and your chimney. Thank you. Thank you very much. But yes, you've just proven that those are present on this scene, because I couldn't have guaranteed it 100%. Mixed with the fact that I don't know what I was saying. You wish you had more hello there's. Well, I'm afraid you're limited to 2, and Santa will do nothing about that, I'm afraid. That's pretty much dry now, yeah, almost. We've fiddled so long with the chimney, my base is almost dried, which I suppose is not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable to feel loved by anyone. Right, let's just try and get that paint back on the brush, and now the paint has dried out slightly more, so I must admit, I want it that side. There we go, we should be able to just sweep over. It's going to be very difficult keeping track of whether or not it's on the camera, of course, because I've not done this in quite some time, so everything's been moving around, and I cannot guarantee that I'll stay on the camera. Let's just sort of sweep that so that it's reasonably even. And by reasonably even, I mean, fuck it, that will do. Oops, that side again, please. Well, actually, it doesn't really make as much difference now because we're just doing this. Sweeping around the outside, trying to catch the sides of the pavement. So once again, for anybody particularly interested, this is Warp Fiend Grey, which is a grey with a particularly purple hue. I don't know how much the purple comes through. I wouldn't necessarily have said it's coming through at all. But nonetheless, for anybody particularly, I suppose arguably the entirety of the pot might show it up a little bit more. Well, I haven't said that, that's a bit more white, but difficult to know because I think my screen's a little bit off in terms of colours, because it has a sort of nighttime mode, and I tend to allow it to go into that nighttime mode. But anybody who knows Warp Fiend Grey will know that it just has that little tinge of purple, which I found with some of my other pavements. That tinge of purple just adds a little bit of interest. Don't get me wrong, I quite like standard grey. Not specifically standard Mechanicus grey, just any old grey. Because I was doing a bunch of them, and if you want a good light grey pathing, Celestra was quite nice as a base coat. not specifically this base, a base coat. But will you please cooperate with my fingers? Which I've said to many a girlfriend. Hardly. His go-to for base colour, yeah. So I think it's a good one for light pavement, but I think I just wanted something a bit different on my pavement. I just wanted something that just had a touch more sort of, as I say, has that slight shade of pinky purple to it. And I think that's quite nice. But yeah, if you want a nice light pavement, because where I did a road and some pavement, so I wanted two quite differing shades of the same technique. The road I based in black, and then dabbed on some light grey, possibly Mechanicas on that occasion, I'm not sure, but dabbed on some grey and some white, and that got me a nice sort of... and I think I then dabbed on a little bit more black as well to take it back down to black. But that made a nice road type tarmac, and then I used Celestial Grey as the base colour for the pavementy type thing, which allowed it to be a much lighter grey, so had a nice bit of contrast between the two, which was very pleasant. I'm just going to give that a moment or two to dry, but because the paint in the pot's drying as well, I don't know whether I need a third coat. Oh, I tell you what's missing. There we go, there's a little bit more light for me, a little bit more light for you. But yeah. The camera may end up having quite a shadow now, because it's... but that's better. I can see a lot more clearly. I can see clearly now, the rain has gone. I'll pop that there. And I think there's a secret Smash Brothers logo in there. I think that's the orientation for the Smash Brothers logo. But it's definitely sort of two lines, I believe. Feel free, if you don't know it, look up the Smash Brothers logo, and then you can make your assessments. But anyway, I suppose, welcome, Mr. Blue Boosh. I'm assuming you sort of popped out when it died, and then you've popped back in, so you possibly missed the old how are you doings and what are you doings. Obviously, having finished Magneto, you need... There is a little bit of Fantastic Four in there as well, yeah. A little bit of Fantastic Four. But having finished your Magneto, I believe, unless you've still got bits and bobs to do with him, you will be on to a new one. You are knackered, and you prepped a car to paint. Interesting. What car is that? Is that just one of their basic cars? Did you pick up another... I know you sent a link for the base. Need more scenery, that's fair. And it'll be nice to play with sort of unified scenery as well, I imagine. You know, all being painted by the same person will unify it in a sort of decent fashion. Also, just to show off to anybody, there is an... Could you stop that now? Thank you. I do have an angel as well. An angel indeed. Quite a nice sword. Lovely wings. Nice shield. Very nice detailing on the shield. I was particularly pleased with that shield. Not that's not my design. That sort of sounded like I was suggesting it was. That whole angel was from a pack of 3D models that I purchased. Whereas the Spider-Man, while that's drying, we'll get the Spider-Man out again. The Spider-Man, however, that is a large volume of my own doings. I will explain, just in case. The basic fundamental I'm Spider-Man model was the Spider-Man character model from Shattered Dimensions, video game Shattered Dimensions. I then ran a rig through it in order to be able to pose it. I also built out the leg bits so I expanded those. Nothing too major. I mean, it's literally choose some polygons and scale them up. Same with the glove area, the separation there. Then same with the belt area. Once again, just chose the polygons, whipped them out, scaled them up. You can see slight extra on the belt there. Then I built the hat. Quite clever in a way. That is originally, I mean, arguably you could understand it's originally just a cylinder. But it's a cylinder, but you can snap it and skin modify it to the head for starters to get it to match up with the head shape. And then you can bend it, like Beckham, you can bend it back down and it formed the hat bobbly thing. Then the present, I mean, that's just a square. It's just box. It's a cube with a few extra, bits extruded out. I added that cube. Then there's a sort of support bar, which is just a cylinder. In fact, it's interesting because I didn't bother smoothing the cylinder. It's quite amazing that you can actually see that it is not a true cylinder. It's an 8-sided octagon, which is quite interesting. And then, yeah, I rather awkwardly, and I don't think this was a particularly good method, but you can see, because the Shattered Dimensions, there we go. The Shattered Dimensions character model, of course, being for a video game, relies exclusively on being smooth and potentially having a bump map, or just textures, visible video textures. So the entire model was just smooth. So what I did was I went in and extruded sort of the web pattern and then booleaned it out of the model, which I don't think was a particularly good method, but it got the job done. And likewise on the back there, that was a plane, just a 4-sided plane originally. I then manipulated it to the Spidey logo, which was not too bad because I had the ability to trace around all of that, because the textures on it already had the textures on the thing. We need just a little bit more. I think there's painted dyeing on me, which I've tried to bring it back, but may have added too much water to it. But never mind. I'll give it another. I mean, this is a third thin coat, and by thin coat, I really do mean thin coat. I mean, this is the sort of coat where a person up north would actually give you a knowing nod of, "That's right, you may have caught you, you soft bastard, but it's sufficiently thin that I am willing to fucking let it slide." So, but it should be enough. As I say, it's only really one extra coat for security. And I'll just emphasise the cracks a little bit more. Make sure there's a suitable volume of paint within the cracks. It's deep and even. And even Stephen likes it. Stephen who? Stephen Strange. You know you're doing well if you've got his seal of approval. And when he brings a seal of approval, he really does make it a seal. A magical seal of approval. Arf, arf, arf. And you know you've done something spectacular. Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man. Anyway, so yeah. Just make sure it feels like it's covering the whole model relatively evenly. By the way, that's not meant to be a tip, that's meant to be just my inner monologue that's leapt out. Right, so we'll let that dry. Unless we're not doing any more coats with that, we don't have to worry about the paint in the plastic pot going anywhere. So I'll just do that. Right, let's do a little chimney. and it is a very little chimney. And this one was entirely my own modelling. 3D, you know, program modelling rather than anything else. But I mean, that's just box, extrude box, or lengthen box in fairness. Extrude slightly overhanging box, op, extrude slightly overhanging box, op, extrude slightly overhanging box, op, insert, extrude. And then there is a little hole. There's a little hole right at the bottom. You see, you locate the little hole with your little Spidey man, and he sort of pops in the hole, and then he stands like that. But yeah, that's how that came about. No, I think I'll do the outside first. So I don't know whether this theory is going to work, but it's, you know, something, isn't it? I don't know which one to do as the primary, because what I'm going to do is just sweep a load of colour on the outside and then try and pick out some of the bricks to make a slightly different shade. But slightly sort of like which one to go for. Tell you what, let's try this one first. As I say, it's a bit of an experiment, but in fairness, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chimneys spare if needed. Because I'm not very good at 3D printing, so I have to do a load spare, which is just one of those things, I suppose. Let's pop that in that corner. Whoops. Well, that's not going to help the paint, is it? In fairness, I think it's mostly dry, so that's alright. Although that's in the danger zone. I think we need to just put it. I don't know where to put it. Put it there. There we go. That's now out of the way and out of the danger zone. And by danger zone, it's where I don't think you can see it. No, you can see the cloth, but the water pot's at the back. And where I tend to not pay much attention, I have a habit of between the water pot and the cloth dropping a load of shit all over the place. Which is not helpful, because it tends to mean that I make a mess, which is just entirely standard. It's all I know how to do when it comes to painting my stuff. I only really know the method to make a fucking mess. And as I say, because I've brought the camera down slightly to make it potentially slightly easier on me, it is surprisingly a little bit more. No, I might have made that too thin again. Oh well. It will soon thicken up as it starts to dry. I don't necessarily think that's an official theory, but it will suffice. Decisions. No, I'm thinking just a big sweep. I don't know. I got them ready for later, but I specifically need them right now. So, right, let's get myself paint on the brush, and now let's make a vast sweeping motion across the canvas. I must admit, the brickwork is it's not as indented as I would have preferred it to have been. So if I'm not careful here, I may find that I lose a bit of the brick, but I must admit I was slightly concerned I'd lose a bit of the brick when doing the base coat, and I can't deny it, the moment I applied the base coat, the brick suddenly just went pop, and it was quite impressive. I thought the spray might just sort of, oh dear, no, I buggered that. But no. Very much no. It impressed me quite a bit. Oh. Apparently we may only have about 5 Christmas songs, so insanity may ensue in a moment or two, because I think that's the same one as we had earlier. Have I somehow managed to lock in like two settings so it's only able to do Christmas chiptunes? I've got a feeling that might have been what I've done. Which obviously will lessen its... a bit careful. I'm pooling the paint a little bit around the corners, which... I mean, may make a lovely effect, I suppose, but not necessarily an effect I want. But I'll take that. I think it's because of the way I'm doing the wide sweeping. Let's do slightly less wide sweeps. And let's see what happens. I must admit, that's looking better than I thought it was going to look, which is not difficult in fairness. Yeah, I don't know. At the moment it's looking quite bright. Although having said that, the base coat, the grey of the base beneath it is doing wonders on sort of preventing it looking too bright in real life. I think on camera it does look a little bit brighter than it perhaps does in real life, I don't know. But the theory, and while I give it a moment to dry off a touch, the theory I'm going with is we're going to do a base coat of Wild Rider Red, which is what I just did, and I'll probably give that a couple more coats. Then I'm going to try and pick out a couple of bricks to have a Tau light ochre, and we'll try a couple of bricks with a Fire Dragon bright, and then hopefully getting in the cracks to darken those whilst also darkening every other brick. I'm going to try and put a little bit of red tone on it to ideally make it just that slightly darker red. Whether that works out or not is anybody's guess, but we shall have to wait and see and find out a thing for you and for me. That's why I was going to say, why is that not working? It's a different fucking thing. But do we have so... No. Other than no. If I have managed to sort of... Oh no. Oh no. No, that wasn't quite meant to be an oh no there. It was meant to be a general thing. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Diddle 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 diddle. Have you been to Little It? Have you been to Little recently? I'm just trying to find out if this thing has managed to combine chiptunes and Christmas, but I don't think it has, to be honest. Or at least there's no obvious sign of it having done that. Discover? No. Stations. Yeah, I was going to say, theoretically, I am in the Happy Holidays station. I think it is just proving disappointing. Probably because it's the free version, so they want you to buy it. They want you to buy it, so it's disappointing until you do. You must buy the program, otherwise we will disappoint you. But I suppose it's alright for background music. Doesn't make too much difference, I'm sure. Right. I think that's got a fair shot at having a decent go a second coat now. if I do want a third or not, but it might be worth something to put a third in there. We'll give it a moment to dry off. I suppose arguably while I let that dry off, we can bring back the other one and do the next step in that. Right, let's have a look. Which now what is the next step? Well, it usually depends on how bright or dark I want it. I don't particularly want it that dark. It's going to work a bit better. I think we want, yeah, we'll leave that brush for now. Needling this brush. So next step to my pavement. A nice bit of a shake on. Oh, it's a white Christmas. Probably isn't going to be a white Christmas. Apparently it might be for up north. And apparently a heat down south and a cold up north that might allow the people in the middle to gain some kind of snow. So a gentle jab at black. This is basically like dry brushing, but you do want to leave a little bit more than the dry brushing principle. Is it on the camera? Yes, it is. I'll tell you what, we will lower the camera down slightly so you can see slightly more. Yeah, should be all good. Although having said that, I may end up clipping the camera, so I may have to work off to one side. There we go. It's super fucking simple because I am just jabbing it randomly. There's no science. There's no reason I rotated the brush there. It's just to try and make as random a pattern as possible. Keep jabbing it, keep jabbing it. There you go, sorry, I hit the camera. I don't think there's a microphone. I think there is a microphone in the camera, but I don't think it's officially attached and working, so well, you might be hearing the other microphone maybe being affected by the we'll do a not too fussed by the sides, but I like to at least make it feel like I've done some degree of effort on the side. You don't get a lot come out on it, but you know, as long as you feel like you've given it the old college try, it's fine. There you go, very nicely. Nice and dirty. That's the way we like it. Right, just try and sort of... I don't think you can see this bit, but I'm just sort of cleaning. Arguably I should probably avoid putting this in the white, which in fairness I could do by changing brush, I suppose, but should be fine. I've done it before. I've also dipped my fingers in it. And that didn't really sound like the end of a song. It just sounded like it had gone off and died on me, which wouldn't have been convenient. Anyway. So that was Abaddon Black for people keeping a record, and this is White Scar. I think I've got the other white somewhere. Yeah, Ceramite. The old Ceramite white. I don't have a preference either way, to be honest. It's just, they're both white. One's a layer and one's a base, but truth be told, for this method, I don't think it makes much difference. There we go, I think we're possibly a little bit too much on there, but it's fine. It comes off suitably quickly, that if in a couple of places it's a little bit thick, it don't make that much difference. Together a bit more than I would have liked it to have done, but never mind. What goes horribly wrong, there's always other bases. Again, I'm just sort of jabbing at the sides with the hope that it might do something. I'm not worried too much about the lower rim because we'll be dealing with that separately. Although I haven't quite decided as to precisely how I'm going to deal with that one. Because basically, for anybody who's seen previous bases of mine, what I'm doing is kind of trying to match that rim colour there with the character on top of the base, which is a lovely thought to do, I would say. That's why I'm doing it, because I think it's a very good idea. But the problem with Spidey, it was very easy with Doctor Strange and Wong, because both of their magics are shown as orange, and I was very happy. You know, sometimes I would, perhaps think, oh, they're shown as orange, but I fancy doing them differently. But on that occasion, I was perfectly happy to do them orange, because I thought, I think I've got an interesting way of trying to accomplish that orange. And so I did it. Right. What do I usually do next at this point? Give up and do something else. No. That is actually alarmingly true, in fairness. Alarmingly true. But right now what I might do is put that off to the side, raise the camera up a good bit again, so that hopefully we can see, and then find the brush that I could have just lost. That'd be good. And just do one more. One more quick brushing across. I know technically it's meant to be sort of 2 thin coats, but you know, what can I say? I'm one for pushing the boat out. You know, treat yourself. I realised I was concerned about losing the detailing of the bricks, and by not doing 2 thin coats, I'm probably losing the detailing of the bricks. But you know, I just want to make sure it's really got a decent covering of the red. And then we'll work on the idea of trying to pick out some bricks. I don't know which ones. Whoops, well, that's going to have to paint over that. That's fine. That's the benefit of making a mistake early doors. You've always got that option of going, oh, I can just paint over that bit, that's fine. That's why I like painting up until the point where you're doing the last steps. Because, of course, when you're doing the last steps, that's the easiest point in time to absolutely fuck it. Which is an issue. There's no mistake. There is a slight warp to that top of the chimney. Again, I reiterate what I said earlier. Not fully used to doing it. So I did have problems figuring out how best to deal with the chimneys. Oddly enough, I think I have now figured it out. But I got bored of printing chimneys, so I've not printed any more after having figured it out. But still, well, that's not a problem. Right, let's see. Keep that brush. Well, I should probably won't need that brush all that much. We want to go to more sort of a brushy brush. Which I know. What? Sorry, what is a brushy brush? There you go. Brushy brush. Flat brush. I know technically that's not what they're considered. What are they considered? That one. Oh, no, well, one of them is a flat brush in fairness, but this one is just considered a round brush. It's just that's what I think of as a brushy brush, and that's a different brush. And this one's a different brush as well, but this one's got its own dedication, which is shade. I don't think it makes that much difference. It's just, I don't know, the little label is on there, and it makes me go, yes sir, don't you worry sir, I will definitely use you for only shading purposes. Right, so at the moment all this is, I dipped that a bit too far. Well, never mind. Whereabouts are we? All this is, it's not even necessarily, I mean it will darken the crevices and I will run a reasonable amount through the crevices just to darken the cracks, but I find this sort of just, I don't know, kind of mixes, where I've just done all those dabs and stuff, this tends to just finish the dabs off nicely, which is why I'm doing the whole thing, because traditionally you'd potentially just consider just doing all of the crack areas, which makes for a very good weekend if you just dedicate yourself to going all the crack areas. But so yeah, I will apply some bonus extra to the crack areas so that we can get them darkening up and becoming slightly better looking. But I find sweeping it across the whole thing just sort of mixes the whole affair up nicely, which is why I'm going around the outside as well, because I want that matching the colour of the top, and the shade will darken the whole affair. I just want an even, on the top I want quite an even coating of the shade, which, there we go, it's a bit better. So yeah, I'm doing exactly what it looks like I'm doing, I'm sweeping shade across the thing. Have you seen Christmas? I don't think that I have. I have not seen your Christmas. I'm just trying to sort of get even a little bit more in those cracks without putting too much more on the top, which is quite difficult, but there we go. I think that's going to hopefully go as like it has every other time I've done it. So the following steps for that is going to be a little bit of camo shade running down the cracks, just to give a sort of mossy undertone to the cracks, whilst also potentially darkening them even more, which is sort of what I want. Whether that's before or after doing a little bit of dry brushing, I don't know, but I'll probably dry brush the edges just to, although technically you wouldn't have such a shine, and then I might use one of my tiny ship brushes, and what I've been also doing is just dry brushing the edges of the crack, but you can't do that with sort of the other dry brushes I have. You can't do that with, because they are too thick and chunky. They are the chunky boys. There we go, I think that's pretty much done. So let's try and dipping your finger in it is not necessarily the best way of figuring out whether it's done, but you know, it's the way I do things. Alright, let's try and find, is that going to work as a good brush? Yeah, maybe. I'm quite abusive to my brushes, which makes it difficult to find ones that are going to work out as decent brushes. It's not the brush's fault, I will just clarify that, just in case someone was sort of thinking, you blaming your brushes? No, I'm blaming my fat hands and heavy-handedness. That's that. Alright, let's get, yeah, it should be fine. We don't need a huge amount of this, so I'll just get a few tiny blobs. I say I don't need a huge amount of this. I'm always going to need more, I suspect. More than I think I'm going to need. But outside, if I didn't actually touch the water, yeah, I think it might have done. That's fine. There we go. Alright, let's see. You. Looks a bit too moist, which is unfortunate. If it's so unfortunate, what are you going on? I don't know. Probably shouldn't have, but I'm a little bit too of the mastermind school, I suppose, which is well, I've started, so of course I'm going to finish. Pick you. Exactly how I wanted it to go, but I'll probably go. It's a different coloured brick, which is what I wanted. So I've got the bright orange as well, or the fire dragon bright. How many bricks do I want to change colour? Probably not that many. I think maybe we do 2 in this colour that side, and then maybe a few this side. We'll go for this top one. I'm trying to make it look like there's no pattern, which is why I'm putting I need more paint. I didn't want to waste too much paint, because that's a frequent problem I tend to go with. I end up sort of putting too much in, but I think on this occasion I've been a little bit too lacking in generosity. Now, grant you, I might be out. Technically, I could potentially try just dipping from the pot on this one. Yeah, let's see how this fares. Probably a bit too much paint on the brush now. And then maybe one just off and towards the bottom. Can you actually see that reasonably? We'll go down a touch more because I think we can afford to, which will zoom it in. Go sort of
Merry
Oh, creepy Santa again. Hey, would you look at that? It's time for creepy Santa once again. Rush is proving very irritating because it keeps... I think I've got it now. That might work out slightly better. But, of course, if you push too hard, it's not going to work out all that well. Not at all. That was just sloppily put on, it's fine. Oh, you're always overly concerned about decanting too much paint, then halfway through the pot it dries out anyway. It's fair. I'd rather avoid it looking like it's some kind of face, but I think the way I've put those two together does suggest... I must admit, in terms of... I suppose I've probably not had them long enough, perhaps, I don't know, but in terms of paint drying out, I don't think I've ever had that inside the pot. I mean, there may be a couple of the ones I don't use all that much that have actually ended up doing so, but in terms of, to my knowledge, it's not done that. Yeah, this one is not. I'm sorry. Chimney is curious why you're about to enter their chute. To give presents to all the boys and girls. The expression. Oh, I see. Right. Oh, I see. Right. That's the curious face, is it? Fair enough. Oh. Hopefully I'll be able to alleviate that a little bit with the rest of the colour scheme. We'll see. But in fairness, I'm making the colour scheme up, so we'll have to wait and see. Eyebrows, I suppose technically, I could lean into it and stick eyebrows in there, but I'm not planning to. There we go. That's once again probably too thin now, but we shall see. I realise I probably shouldn't stick it on the model in order to see whether it's too thin, but that's the way we work here. We do the random things. Okay, so there's a couple on the... There's not been one on the very bottom, right? So I suppose we should perhaps try and... Well, you know what? I think that might actually be perfect consistency of paint this time around, which is rare. Still not perfect at painting, but you know, it's the perfect consistency where the paint would go on really well if I was slightly better at controlling the brush. This right? Should really do one of these corner ones. Yeah, it's going to be even more difficult once down. Maximum concentration. Maximum concentration is happening right now as I paint a tiny brick. A tiny brick in the construction of your life. Oops. I'm afraid you are now wibbling something drastic. Something chronic is happening right now with your severe case of wibbles. Because what I decided to do, which I felt was quite clever, I stand by the statement, quite clever. I attached the camera, it's attached to a boom arm which is attached to my other desk. I know, oh, get you and your two desks. But, yeah. Anyway, aside from that, it's attached to the other desk, so if I jolt this desk that I'm working on, I don't jolt the camera. I think we might go for another corner brick. Yeah, I like the idea of that. We shall do this top one here. That will wrap round. I suppose it's natural hubris before I even actually got around to stating the thought I had there. The thought I had there was, do you know what? There's something to this practice makes perfect, because that brick was going really well. And then I immediately fogged it before I even got the words out. I suppose fucked it is perhaps a bit extreme. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was over. It was over the area I was trying to put the paint. Let's put it that way. I think, you know, to a certain extent, it's not so bad. Just trying to neaten up a couple of these other bricks and get the whole brick where I was holding it in a different orientation. I missed a couple of these edges. I'm curious if you're still, again, it's always difficult to know who's listening where and when at exact different moments, because it's very easy to go, I need a piss, I'll just nip out for a moment, and then suddenly the streamer's gone, are you still there? But nonetheless, you mentioned you were knackered. I'm curious, was there a specific reason as to why you were knackered? Have you been doing something interesting, or just a general sense of knackered? And that's technically aimed at Blue Bush. However, if anybody else is knackered, you can feel free to chime in and go, I've been doing something or other, or what have you. Any question is an open question, but on this occasion it is based on sentiments of knackerage. So yes. Alright, let's get some of this orange. Listen to it glooping, listen to it glooping. I never know if it actually comes out glooping or not. Hang on. The problem is the bass line of the microphone doesn't ever really truly settle for the most part. So I don't know when it's going to pick up the glooping or whether it's just picking up the air of the thing moving. So let's try. Oh no, I think that's picking up the gooping. Everybody loves it when you pick up the gooping. It's the best. If you pick up the gooping with your vest. Has someone put a load of gooping in your vest? You probably should stop them putting goop in your fence, in your vest even. I mean fence or goop, fence or vest, either way, don't let people goop on it. I think that's one of those ones where I don't think it matters what it is. Don't let someone goop all over it. Which I think is fair. Fair to say. Because I'm making another one of my modern art pieces here with the tissue of paint scrapes. Right, let's try and do some more bricks. I tell you what, let's do this one. Seems like a reasonable choice. Try this one as well. Let's go this one. It was my first instinct and I thought, let's stick with it. Whoops. Just moved my hand too much. That one really always sounds like it should be carrying on. And then it just sort of goes, nope, you have no song now. I'm attracted to this brick. This is my favourite brick. This colour is distinctly going to require a couple of coats. The other one didn't seem too bad, but this one seems particularly sort of on the thin side of not covering the red all that much, which is not a huge problem. I can just do multiple coats, but I just thought I'd mention it. This one. See, that one I wasn't drawn to any brick specifically that time. A slight issue, of course, with the second coat on these bricks is that does rather give you a second chance to fuck them up. And trust me, I can fuck them up on the first chance. I don't need a second. I actually just sort of double down on the fuck up row. Now, I was only planning on doing a couple of the two lighter shades I mentioned. This is the Fire Dragon Bright for anybody. Again, it's really for anybody keeping track at home. Fire Dragon Bright. But what I might consider doing as well, I might just whip out the. I think it's corn. Just give it a bit of a pop and just enjoy myself. No. I believe I've got some corn red around here somewhere, and I might just do a sort of darker couple of dark bricks as well. I've only done 2 each side on this one for this colour, so I think we'll do a third up here. Probably the sloppiest of the bunch. Maybe that's Destiny saying, you know what, you shouldn't have done a third brick here. It might be shedding bristles, which is not great news. I think this paint is just about on the way out in terms of being too dry to use, but never mind. I realise I keep identifying fairly decent problems that you should probably be solving, and then solving them by using the phrase, never mind. But what can I say? That's just the way we do things here. If there's a problem, just look at that problem and go, never mind. It's fine. It's not the problem you thought it was. No sorry. It's never the problem you think it is. Never once. Did I miss? No? Oh, I see. It's the other way round. How fascinating. So, fun fact for people who may or may not know this about Twitch, but in the effort to not miss any messages, it's difficult whilst doing this painting malarkey because I'm not in front of the computer. I've not quite got the sort of mindset and understanding of how to sort of make sure I'm... Now, do I want to go sort of a dark red, or do I want to go for more of a brown? Because, I mean, it's all going to end up a bit red in the end anyway. So I'm thinking what might work is if I can use a brown. And that brown looks like a perfect brown to me. Well, I say perfect brown, it's probably not a perfect brown. What brown is that? Ooh, no, that's another lighter one. I think this one will act as a darker one. But yes, anyway, the fun fact regarding Twitch. So on the activity feed, on the computer browser version, you've got the topmost activity is the latest activity. Which, of course, for anybody who's been paying attention, was Mr. Bluebush's hello. I say I made Obi-Wan sound a lot camper than he is usually on that one as well. But anyway, it's Mr. Bluebush's hello. And then, whereas on your mobile phone, because that's specified, I've got both just so I can try and keep track of messages. But on the mobile phone, the bottom one on the activity feed is, of course, the latest one, which is... also, on the phone, it's actually got time codes. You can probably get them on the browser, just on the phone it happens to be that it's got time codes by default, it would seem. And thus, I can state that it was at 5:03 that Mr. Rabouche redeemed his hello. Not that it's particularly important information, but I suppose it's one of those ones where at some point it might be useful to know, depending on what you're doing with the information. It's Christmas time, Christmas time, Christmas time indeed. Everybody loves Christmas, don't you? Yes. That didn't sound very convincing. That did not sound like a person who loves Christmas. I don't know. I find I'm mostly indifferent to Christmas. Jingle bells, Batman smells. Robin laid a fucking egg and he was surprised. Well, wouldn't you be? You aren't a creature who's supposed to be laying eggs. I think this one, this brick is calling to me. And if that is the case, you should probably seek psychiatric help. I'm assuming it's still on the screen. I fear it's going to be sort of exclusively my responsibility to check that every single time. Let's do another corner brick. That corner brick is calling to me. It's calling my name, and I'm willing to answer its call. Where we shall hello. Hello. I'm Mr. Brick. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Brick. I'm brand new. I just realised quite how racist that could have been interpreted as. It made me chuckle. But there you go. Never mind. As specified. I think that might be my entire ethos on life. Something happens, I go, well, that's a thing. But there you go. Never mind. That is, generally speaking, the way I do life. I think it allows you to maintain a semblance of sanity, 'cause without that method, you'd probably go insane. You do realise you're singing to yourself whilst painting a small chimney? Frankly, I think if you told that to anybody, you'd be seen as mad. So there you go. I think sanity is relative. It really does have an amazingly sort of... It's such a pooey brown. It's for those, again, just in case anybody's keeping score, Mornfang brown. This is Mornfang brown. Let's do this one. Oh, there's a couple that are calling out to me, and I think the first one that called. In fairness, it's usually the first one who calls who gets the attention, because of course, if someone calls afterwards, you're in the middle of a call, so you can't really deal with them. But it was just, it's another sort of corner one, which I don't know. I think we need to avoid corners from now on, because otherwise it's going to be sort of, it's going to be the case of you've done too many corners, but apart from that, I think we'll be fine. Oops. Could play a lovely tune with the brush and the metal arms. I think we need a little bit more. That'd be too. Oh, that's definitely too much. When I said a little bit more, I meant a little bit more water. I've now given it a monsoon, so watch as this goes horribly awry, because the brush is too damp. This one. Yeah, now it's gone from sort of looking like a sort of poo brown to full-on diarrhea brown, but that's fine. It's generally the catchphrase. I think what we'll do is we'll move on to the other side, and we'll just try and remember to go back and give a couple more coats. What that might make for a sort of aesthetically pleasing element. Apart from, you know, when the bloke looks up at his roof and goes, "Why is there so much shit all over my roof?" Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's tolerable, isn't it? That's where we want to start doing some extra coats, indeed. There we go, that's nice enough anyway. There we go. That will do, pig. That is gonna do the trick. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll give you a little review, and then it's time for sticking a bit of wash on, I think. But there's the first side. That's the original confused brick face. That's the next side. And then that's the next side. And then ignore that bit. Ignore where I splashed too much red on the top. And there we go. So I think I feel like it looks like a suitably sort of random pattern where the bloke's just been building up the bricks and then gone, I'll chuck in that brick. And he builds up a few more bricks, I'll chuck in that other coloured brick. It's not too bad. Watch now as my magic ruins it. My magic touch will ruin it greatly when I decide to do the thing that I think is going to work but might not. Yeah. We shall have to wait and see. I'm going to give it a moment or two, make sure everything's relatively dry. I say by relatively, I mean we're going to wait a moment or two and make sure it's fucking dry. And then what I might do, although this doesn't always work out well for me, but I might masking tape off the top of this chimney so that when I do the lip part of the chimney, dink, I won't end up affecting that bit. I've tried in the past and my success rate with masking tape is 50-50. But I think sometimes it feels like it's really worthwhile, and then it doesn't work, and then it's not so worthwhile, and then other times it feels like it's probably not worthwhile, and I do it anyway because I'm desperate for straight lines, and I know for a fact there is no chance, there's no real chance that I can get a straight line. It is Christmas time. Well, approximately, give or take. Right, so I reckon that's probably dry enough. And by dry enough, I mean I think it's probably dry. Like completely dry. Yeah, that all looks suitably done. So, I suppose we should probably give that. And that's proper gooping. It's because it's thin. Christ, I think we might have to move on to a different channel. I don't know. Like, none of the others are going to have any real... Let's try it. Yeah, it might be tolerable. Just carry on gooping, carry on gooping. There you go. Gooping. Right. Put that in the usual. A few drops there. And what I think I might do... Yeah, I think it might be a little bit too harsh, so I'll drop in just a little touch of water to thin it down. Despite it being a wash, I think it's still reasonable to thin down a wash when you want a thinner wash. Although having said that, I think I'm I've not used this palette in a while, and palette is generous, but yeah, I might have just mixed it in with a load of dust. But do you know what? It'll make the chimney feel more real if it's got actual real dust available on it. And well, let's find out. Just scooch it all over. Thick at the top there, but just scooch it over it on here. Oops. Sorry again for... If I go from the centre up, it won't be able to pull quite as much at the alcove section. There we go. I think we've just seen a little bit of evidence of that dust problem. Which I mean, at least you can't say. I can't say I have the same problems as other people, because I don't know of any other artist who's gonna. I use that term in the loosest possible sense of the term. I don't know of any other miniature painter who winds up with their paint being a bit fucked because they put it in a load of dust. I think I may have wanted more coats of paint on some of those orange sections, but it's fine. I think fundamentally it's going to work out roughly the way I figured it would, which is nice. I'll make sure it's all sort of quite even. Which I must admit, I am wondering if it's where I'm rotating. It might be pooling in sections. I don't want it to pool in, but it's fine. That's the catchphrase again, but it's fine. I'm being fairly heavy-handed with it, because I know it's going to sort of reduce a little bit. I know I could do several coats, I suppose. I'm going to make this base one fairly heavy-handed. I think not a lot of choice now, but allow that shade to just sort of dry itself off. Right, I'll tell you what we can probably do though. Yeah. We'll exchange you for you. Excuse me. And now get the old Athonian out. Literally just using you. There we go. Wondered where my shade brush had gone. And now, get some green shade on the brush. Now this requires a certain level of doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly in the crack, and any overspill won't make too much difference to the end result. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I was just saying it won't make too much difference, and I immediately went off the straight line. As I say, because of the way moss works, if it's a little bit over the edges, it doesn't make too much difference. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not that good at painting, so it really don't make much difference. When you're not very good at something, you can get away with it looking shit. Yeah, I had a go. It don't look great, but you know, I had a go. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You're not a pro. Well, that looks magnificent. That's the secret of being inept at things. If you are inept at things, whoops. I might be able to cloth that. I'll cloth it off the camera so that if it goes wrong, nobody will see it. I managed to just sort of drag it off a little bit. That's fine. There we go. But, I mean, it's not exciting, but that is a bit of green. A bit of green. Again, for record keeping, a Athonian camo shade, which is essentially a green wash. They've got all sorts of different colours, I believe. I think I've got Agrax over there, which is more of a sort of brown. Agrax, I believe, goes well on top of gold. Something to do with your soul. Now we have to start making some decisions. And I mean, fundamentally, the decision is paint the Spider-Man. And to that I say, I don't want to. You can't make me paint Spider-Man. Wasn't that the point? Yes. Well, shouldn't you paint Spider-Man then? I don't want to. He looks quite good. Now, I want to clean that brush before we do anything else. Procrastination circuit set to maximum. Never once try to paint your Spidey. Right, we're going to want my sort of mid-range. It's a really shitty brush. It's a bit big. Ideally I want one that's not shit. Not that big. Might fit the bill. I wonder if do I still have the size just a little bit lower? What's that? Is that a flat one? Yeah, that's a flat one. I think there's a flat one. What size are you? I don't know what order the numbers go. Hang on, I might be able to figure it out. No, I really don't know what. Okay, so I think you're. Let's look at them. CSMO tells you to paint, so passing it on, paint Spider-Man, yeah. There you go, I think that's the thinner brush, so we'll try that brush. I'll probably screw it up in about 5 seconds. Not the model, the brush. I mean the model as well, but more so the brush on this occasion. Right, let's have a think. Now, I know roughly what I'm considering doing. I just need to figure out the precise detailings of how I wanted to do it. I think it was going to be a little of that and a little of that perhaps, with the potential for a hint of that. Yeah. Right, we'll save that brush for actual doings. So the plan, for anybody wondering, I will put forth the plan for Mr. Spoodermoons. Now, because he's not just Spoodermoon, he is Santa-Spidey, what I'm going to do is mostly his traditional colours, but the boots, the reason I didn't put any sort of web details on the boots is because I designed them to be sort of black, quote-unquote black Santa boots, and then same with the gloves, they're to be black Santa gloves, and then the slightly sort of higher up area around the boots is meant to be the fur rim, and again around the gloves is fur rim. The hat is of course going to be red because it's Santa. The trousers, I believe, blue trousers. Don't search blue trousers, you fucking dickhead. It's supposed to be you're researching Spider-Man, not blue trousers. Fucking dickhead. Images, you fucking cunt. Look at the Spider-Man. Yes, there we go. I was correct. Yeah. So blue trousers. I missed what I said. Black boots, yes. Black boots for Spidey, because they're meant to be Santa's boots. What colour is the present? Is it going to clash with Spider-Moon Chimney? I don't think it will, because my plan for the present is silver wrapping paper with a gold bow, because I have to use gold somewhere. It wouldn't be my design if I didn't use gold somewhere. So I don't think it will clash, but it won't necessarily complement either. It's going to be sort of in the middle, indifferent. So yeah, it'll be blue trousers. I think I've literally just separated it as trousers, belt, top. So blue trousers, black belt with hopefully a gold buckle, but the buckle is quite small, so then blue sort of back, yeah, blue back and sides, red hat, red mask, red chest, red doings, and then what I might try and do is pick out these little logos and do them white, which is A, slightly Christmassy, and B, a little bit like Spider-Man PlayStation 4. And I do like the design of Spider-Man PlayStation 4. I do plan on trying to figure out real Spidey, professional Spidey. I want to try and do like the PlayStation 4 Spidey, at least a little bit. Surprisingly, not quite the same, but they are devilishly close to being roughly the same size, which is quite pleasing. So actually the best gauge would be the arm. Yeah, you can see just a fraction off the sort of being the same size. My spider twins. Spider twins, spider twins. I made lewd comments when I spider twins. Okay, that was a lot. That was actually worse than I thought it was going to be. It was meant to just be, you know, I made lewd comments about a pair of twins. But when you suddenly put it into spiders, it suddenly becomes spider twins, spider twins. I made lewd comments when I spider twins, which suddenly is absolute filth. But never mind. It's fine. The usual statement. It's fine. Right. So, as previously mentioned, I've no idea if it's going to work out, but the general idea is if we pop a little bit of grey. And then I'm going to try. I do want them to be sort of black boots, but what I'm trying to do is make a sort of slightly lighter shade. And I do want just a hint, because these boots are traditionally red. Spider-Man's boots are traditionally red. I do sort of want a hint of red in there, but not necessarily so much that you know there's red in there. I realise there's not a lot of point in them. If nobody can tell there's red in it, why would you need to put red in it? Shut up. Shut up, you madman. Add a little blue to the black. Well, that's where I'm trying the idea of starting at least. I'll start with a sort of theoretical combo. When I say theoretical combo, it's going to be a practical combo in a moment. But the idea is I'm going to go with some black, some grey, and a touch of red to hopefully make a sort of dark... Well, I suppose it's going to make a dark brown, isn't it? Well, I do plan on using a little bit of pure black. I suppose I could use a little bit of pure black with a hint of red. But I want to try and get sort of some shadowing into the whole affair and see how that fares. Can't guarantee it's going to do anything that I like, but yeah. There is an argument that says it doesn't actually matter if I fuck up this Spidey, because you see I have come out. I don't know how many of them are. Oh, they're all a bit high, but there we go. I do technically have many others. I'm Spider-Man. No, I'm Spider-Man. No, I said I'm Spider-Man. No, truly, I'm the Spider-Man. He's the Spider-Man who went a bit wrong, worse for wears, because he's all sort of weird white. Issue with, I think, curing and cleaning that one. But viable. Viably sort of not shit. They are definitely feeling my presence. Dirty little buggers. Dirty Spider-Man. Oh, dirty Spider-Man. Now, it's going to be awkward because I don't really have a handle, but we'll see what happens. Right, so let's basically try applying paint. I might need to go up a bit. Try and avoid getting a darker shade into his okay. And of course this pose you do actually have to worry about doing his the bases of his feet. A lot of the time you can ignore the bases of their feet, can't you, because they just attach to the old bases, but I don't know precisely how visible that is, but I mean, I'm sure it's sufficient. But if you can't see, do shout and I can try and sort something else out. But I do tend to move a model around quite a lot. So chances are, by the time you've shouted, there is the distinct probability that I've already moved it. But This colour's not too bad. It's possibly a little bit browner than I'd intended it to be, but not so bad. It is nice and dark. And then what I'm hoping to do is round the top of the boot, I'm going to try and do sort of a slightly darker section to put forth some shadowing, and then possibly try and do a very white sort of dry brush or some such. On the kind of forefront to really hopefully try and push the idea of it being a slightly shiny leather, but I'll guarantee that'll work. That's the fundamental principle and theory I'm looking at the moment. I'm discovering the issues with this pose. One of those ones where you're just sort of looking at it on a computer. It was felt like a delightful little pose, based on one of the movie swings he's got. Obviously he doesn't have a present in that one, but I think it's one of the Maguire movie swings. I basically had a sort of reference image in the background and positioned his limbs to try and approximate it. Why? You're asking me why? Mostly because it made it a lot easier to get the pose right. That's why you always use reference images, my friend. My very growly friend. But yeah, suddenly the realities of painting this pose just sort of hit home a little bit more. And you suddenly have to sort of try and get your brush in. Well, if it gets particularly bad, I think we'll be alright, but if it gets particularly bad, I do have the bendy brush. Oh, I say bendy. Technically not bendy. It is a bent brush. For the painting rank ordnance. I don't know precisely how much control you've got over it, but it's literally just... See, that's it if you've got the tip straight. That's it if you've got the brush straight. It's a bent brush. Never actually had to use the bent brush, but it comforts me to know that I have the bent brush, so that if I ever do need to use the bent brush can in fact be used. These are tiny fucking fingers. It's interesting, once I printed this and I went and inspected the official sort of MCP model of Spider-Man, you can sort of see, I think, if you look at his fingers, his Spidey pose fingers, the old web shooter pose fingers, they are slightly fatter than you would necessarily expect them to be. If you really, really look at them, you can sort of see that they are just that little bit fatter than you would usually expect a finger to be in relation to the hand, I think. And I can fully understand why, because the ones I've got are completely sort of 100% perfectly scaled to the human they're attached to. And they are fucking tiny. And as mentioned, this is slightly bigger. Shouldn't really be touching his boots, but I think they are actually dry. They don't usually take long to dry unless you've really thinned the paint, which means mine usually take fucking ages to dry. Unless you really fuck it up, it doesn't take long for these paints to dry, but I've usually fucked it up, so it usually takes a lot longer. Well, having said that, I'm actually often dry brushing because it's an easier method to do things. Can't really do it for everything, but I assure you, wherever it does seem possible to do dry brushing, I will fucking do dry brushing. You get semi-decent results with limited effort, which is kind of my forte. Finding ways to do the least amount of work to get the best possible results. Always admired the sound quality of my voice. Now you have the perfect top down, and always keep the subjects in the middle. I mean, I don't know about that, but especially perfect sound. I mean, the microphone is a fair distance away now, though. Now, this is going to be troublesome because at the moment I don't necessarily have to worry too much, but later on I'm going to have to try and pick around these bloody fingers. Maybe I should have done the present first, but I chose this colour first, doing this colour first. But yeah, I suppose either way it doesn't really make much difference. If I'd chosen to do the present first, I'd have had to have tried picking out the fingers around the present area. If I tried if I tried it the other way around, of course I'd have exactly the same problem, just in the opposite direction. But in terms of sort of camera setup, I suppose it's partially because this desk was built and designed for this. Well, not literally, but, I mean, the general setup was purchased and designed for explicitly this sort of purpose. So I wasn't trying to I wasn't really hybridizing pre-existing elements. I bought a desk, I bought a camera, I bought it all at the same time with the exact intention, which I think helps when doing things. I think in terms of subject in middle, I mean, I think that's mostly fluke. Side of his arm. Tiny bit. It's not too bad. In fact, I must admit it's looking surprisingly good at the moment. I don't necessarily just mean the colours, I mean the sort of the way it's applied to the model has applied surprisingly well. Well, I feel we are getting to that stage where it's just running that a little bit too dry, which is going to be slightly troublesome because we've got one more bit to do at least. Of course, if I do need more, remixing that paint's going to be a bastard. I had a nasty feeling I'd done that. Might be worth never going to get the brush in that, which is going to make painting it bloody awkward next time. I'll have to wait and see. Wait and see what happens. I'm going to try and paint it blue. It needs to be. That's going to be a clear problem. Belt is another one of those ones that looks nice when you don't have to paint it, and then there's a real bastard when you suddenly think, oh, actually I do need to paint that. There we go. In fact, I've done pretty much just in time, assuming there is no more. Yeah, there's no more of that colour that I want. But there we go. He now has is black-ish, very dark red, technically. Oh, I suppose dark red with some grey and some black, all mixed together to form a harmonious sort of dark brown. Excuse me again. Curious what the time is now. That's later than I thought it was going to be. Right, let's have a think. What I might do is we'll leave Spidey for now. he can just pop off and hang there, which means I don't know if this is the right plastic tube, but we'll pop the plastic tube over anyway. Now, what I think we might do is get one of my shit brushes. This cloth, abandon all hope for any brush that enters this area. Now, are you the... Yeah, you'll do for that purpose. Yeah, you'll be fine. Because I don't know about anybody else, but once I've fucked up a brush, I have been keeping those fuck up brushes, just in case. You never quite know when a fuck up brush is going to come in handy. Like right now. Why can't I see you? Where are you? Where have you gone? Why are you evading me? No, that's the wrong one. No, that's not the right one. That's not the right one. There it is. It's right in front of my face. That's why I couldn't see it, I suppose. We're now going to add a little Lustrian undergrowth. Precisely where, I don't know. Probably, yeah, we'll probably lump a bit in that crack. Lump a bit there. Lump a bit all over the place, really. I don't know how you're necessarily supposed to use this stuff, but I just sort of, on one of my shit brushes, I'll get a bit of lump. Tell you what, we'll go down a bit so that I don't. Are we there again? Yeah. So here, and then just sort of, just hesitantly decide precisely what you're doing with it, but just, there you go. Just have a little bit there, and then a little bit there. Slightly overhanging, but I'm fine with that. Smear a bit along there. No, don't. And then just lump there, and then just I'll clean the brush slightly there. Sorry, I don't know. It caught me that I was sort of essentially. You know what? I think we'll leave it there. Leave it there because I don't want to go too overboard with the growth, because otherwise, you know, it might end up looking a little bit silly. Growth everywhere. But yeah, it gives a. I don't even know if you can necessarily see it all that well, but you know, it just gives a little lump of greenery inside the cracks, where greenery can sometimes get. I'll go back to that page because otherwise I'm going to miss something. Right. Now, what we'll do first is I think we'll grab. Yeah, we'll grab, and I think. I don't know. No, I think the grey. I mean, it's certainly not terrible. It's not it's not an awful way of getting. Or do I want to go? No, I think this one will work. It's certainly not an awful way of getting a nice sort of looking thing. Oh, don't close. We're not finished with you. A little bit. Again, for people keeping records, this is now Celestra Grey that I'm using. I was tempted to use white, but I think the grey will work nicely. Now, I probably leave a little bit more than most people on the brush when I'm dry brushing, but that's because I do sort of, I don't know, I like to, especially around this sort of edge here, I quite like it being slightly liberal, although I have gone slightly over the grass, but fuck it. There you go. And again, ignoring all of that, it doesn't matter that it's all like that. I'll probably end up giving that a bit more of a clean off later, but for now, what I'm going to do, that's the shit one? Yeah. I'm going to just do, or try at least. And just dip the shit brush in the grey. Just sort of barely going to be noticeable, and that usually annoys me. But I think I could be. No, it's just about doing it. It's sort of barely noticeable is sort of the point, but I think that's a little bit too unnoticeable. There's a distinctly fine line between it can't be seen and you've done too much. But essentially this is just tiny dry brushing. Tiny dry brushing. It's because you can't really, I think you'd struggle to put the full dry brush in the gap, essentially. I might just grade to white for a moment or two. Just see about getting those cracks a little bit more punchy, I suppose. There you go, that was too much paint. Because that's now just paint. That's just brushing, that's no longer dry brushing. That'll be fine. Yeah, not perfect, but I've tried to just sort of blend the fuck up in a little bit more, which is essentially all you can do. When you fuck it up, you just gotta try and blend it in. You can still see where I fucked it up, but I don't know. If you look at it with fresh eyes, not understanding that there's a fuck up there, you'd probably look at that and go, yeah, it's alright. Which, yeah, that, all you can hope for. Right, let's go back to my chimney for a moment or two. And yeah, I think what we'll do, let's get the thick stuff. That one. Technically I've got thicker masking tape, but I quite like this one. It seems to have a decent enough texture, although having said that, I don't know where the end, oh there we go, that's where the end is. How very peculiar. Do I want to use the full? I think we're alright. Let's just just double check the dryness of this. Not necessarily testing for full. Well, I am testing for full-on dryness. I'm just also testing for sort of slight tackiness, but I think we're alright. I'll just try and the thing with this is I am going to try not to go over the edge. So ideally the masking tape will just act as a slight extra sort of security measure rather than necessarily a full thing. But it might end up being awkward to go off, but we will see. Yes, actually I've got a plan. I'll do the plan on the camera. The plan is, if I can do it, I now have a little pull tab, because I've stuck the tape on itself, it will not stick there. Guesses probability of it getting in the way, 100%, but it may also allow me to then peel the tape off without losing the tape. Right, so the plan of action for this top bit of chimney is talon sand, with ideally at some point some terminatus stone doings. Now we're sort of painting again, hoping it will go up a bit. Should be, yeah, it should work out well enough. I mean, I think I said this the last time I tried painting around it. I really feel like I could do with wireless headphones. What brush? I think it might be this. A bit stiff. But that's just because I'm excited. No. The brushes are a bit stiff. As specified, my brushes don't last very long because I don't look after them as well as I should. I am trying. It's not like I've completely sort of written them off as, you know. I mean, a few of them I have definitely written off because they are, I think, beyond salvation. But as seen, they can be used for applying trashy things that I don't care about. I think the subtlest way of applying a drop of water. I don't know. I think it may have just been right at the top. It may have come out. I sort of just threw water at the paint rather than what I intended to do, which was get close and try and just give a subtle droplet of water into the paint. I just sort of went, fuck it, throw the paint. Throw the paint, don't throw the paint, baby. Throw the paint, don't tip the paint over. Right, so that may be too liquidy, but we'll start anyway. We can be sort of fairly generous at the top and not care too much about it. And then as the paint starts drying, so too will the thickness of the paint be slightly more workable. But this, fortuitously, there's no real reason not to just go, because what the plan is, the reason why I'm going around this, I think I'm a little bit off to the side because I'll move the camera up. So, but the reason why I'm going around the edge outside. Now it don't matter if I go 2 in there, but I'm going to do the inside probably black, probably pure black, because you know, I don't feel like the inside is hugely important, and all I want is a dark colour, and that's where I'll paint that little supporting rod black as well, and that should hopefully, with a bit of luck, just sort of hide the rod and hide the inside. Now, arguably, I didn't need to necessarily have quite such a depth to the inside. It's just I wanted it to not necessarily look. I wanted the chimney to look a little bit like it was hollow, but not. But that's why I sort of tapered. Is the word I was after. I couldn't quite remember the word, which is fairly standard fare. But it's just, we'll knock that down a little bit. But it's tapered on the inside because A, you could then use that supporting rod, and B, it just oh I see one of the others went off. We may have been losing light throughout, but I think with the top down light, there's probably enough light to see everything, but you know, I am losing my peripheral bonus lights. I'm losing my Brucey bonus lights. I'll give it a moment or two to dry, which I think will help the paint then settle in the future. Which, as I say, I mean, it's my own fault. I splashed too much water in there out of sheer carelessness. Let's have a drink. And possibly in the future cause a stink. I mean, at some point I probably will. You know, it's an inevitable thing. During the day, you just, you know, we're talking about shit now, just in case you were wondering. I just thought you might want to make sure you understand. Right. Get that. Get all my screens ready. I was just doing some sifting around, looking at some stuff, looking at some bits, looking at some pieces, looking at the bobs in between. I suppose there's an argument that says I should have done the black on the inside first, but we'll just have to try and be careful. I could always try using more marker skin tape, but I don't think that would work this time. Are we ready to try another coat? Still a little bit damp, but I think beside that we'll be alright. Having been sat for a moment or two, this paint is a little bit more of the tolerable sort of consistency we're after. Just a little bit, possibly a little bit on the loose side. We do have to do this bottom one this time. There's one where I intentionally avoided it because I was going to do it separately, and then I sort of forgot and didn't actually cover it in paint after all. Might be a huge problem. It might be a huge problem if it doesn't get covered in paint because of the whole red is a bit thick and not wanting to be painted over, but I think alright once we get a couple of coats on there. This bottom section's only had one coat so far, so once again, we'll just give that a moment or two, and that should dry off, and we can give a third coat. And I don't know, at the end of the day, if we have to give it a fourth, we have to give it a fourth. It's just one of those things. Have you got the hibbity-bibby-dibbies? I've got the hibbity-bibby-dibbies. Have you got the hibbity-bibbity-hibbity-bobbity-boos? My goal at the moment is to ideally finished most of the concrete on the base, so that's good. I still haven't decided, as specified, with this ring, i.e. wed, but with that outside ring, I haven't quite decided what I want to do with it. My temptation, I do want to sort of experiment at some stage. Say what? Well, that's pretty much dry, so let's give it its coat. I want to experiment with possibly, because the way I'm going to do it is very much like the way I did the concrete, which is basically base coat, then do a stippling, and then do another base coat. And then do probably a wash over the top and a little bit of dry brushing just to highlight the edges of the base. And with the last ones I've done, I don't know how far I got in the thought track last time, but with the last ones I did, it was really easy. I definitely got as far as Doctor Strange and Wong, because their magic is orange. I decided to make their base orange as well. And so I did their sort of magical elements and the base all at the same time, all the same sort of stippling orange magic, which was rather pleasant. I must admit, I did say I was going to be careful. I'm not being careful, just in case you were wondering. I'm hoping the masking tape will do what I want the masking tape to do. It's the way I roll. I just end up going on faith that what I want to have happen will happen. It's rare that what I want to have happen will happen, but nonetheless, that's what we're going for. Worst case scenario, I have found that on some occasions you can just sort of, with the old scalpel blade, you can just nip a little bit of the paint off if need be. You can just give it a very gentle scrape, and sometimes any paint that's leaked down underneath the masking tape is not really fully, it's sort of betwixt and between being there, essentially, I suppose. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but nonetheless, you could probably scrape off a lot of paint with a knife if you push hard enough, but if you gently give a little bit of a scrape, I found that actually came off on the other bases. But the other one I was doing was She-Hulk's base, and again, that was easy. Gamma, green. So it was a green stipple effect. Spidey, however, has sort of two dominant primary colours, and as such, I don't know which of those I wish to do. Now, one thought I did have, and I'm going to test it right now. I'm just going to test it in the palette, see what happens. Sometimes you can tell whether it's going to look decent, and sometimes you can't. But we'll have a go. Stipple half red, half blue. Yes, that is the sort. Oh no, I think I know what you mean. That was a temptation. But yeah, I think I know what you're suggesting there, which isn't quite what I'm wondering. Not this experiment anyway. Yeah, one side red, one side the blue. Yes, that was a temptation. And with masking tape, I might be able to do a perfect separation point. But I'm gonna have a quick experiment here. Oh, you can't actually see the experiment, but I've painted a little bit of blue on my palette. It's not it's not anything too exciting. It's not, it's not worth going, oh god, it's doing something, I'm missing it. I've literally just smeared a bit of blue paint on the palette. Blue paint on palette. But yeah, as I say, I have considered the half and half. And if this doesn't work, because I suspect it might end up just being, well, purple. I don't know. But if this doesn't do what I would consider good, cock. Or do we think that's enough? No, I think that needs a little bit more, especially on the underneath side. Probably doesn't need much on the top, but definitely needs a little bit more here. This time we'll try and avoid splashing water all over it, and then we might be able to get the consistency we want sort of first time. So we probably don't need a lot of it this time. He says, scooping in a shit ton. It's fine. A touch of water, there we go, that's probably going to be a bit there. Again, I fear you can only sort of see the gyrating of my hand, but I promise it's not hugely important. It's a plastic pot being dipped in colours, so the real meat of the matter is, of course, the actual model. There we go, a bit there. One of the particularly problem-childing ones because it's very red on the underside. Must be the one where I really did fuck up and splash a lot of that Wild Rider red underneath. There we go. I think we've caught everything now. Let's just try giving top just one more. The vicar to the prostitute. What? I don't know. But I'm not in charge of the vicar or the prostitute, so I don't know why the vicar said that to the prostitute. I'm just relaying the message. Can't shoot the messenger. I mean, actually, you can. You absolutely can shoot the messenger. Right, there we go. So now let's grab this, and I think that red is dry. It's very much not red. Very much blue. A little touch of the reds. Oh, you can see the cloth a little bit more. Oops. Ding goes the boom hole. Ding goes the boom. Ding goes the boom. I'll get the worst of that red out, but excuse me. I think I'm going to be able to. So decisions. I'll tell you what. I do have a second dry brush, so it's not a huge issue. Just wondering if I do want to sort of commit to the dip, as it were. But I'm wondering, it does give a certain, I mean, it does hold its separation quite nicely, in fairness. What I might just try first is see what happens. This one's actually a little bit dark, in fairness, so do we want to, tell you what I'm going to try. It's blue base, red stipple, and then just try a little bit of blue shade. See if that sort of mixes the two together and forms a nice, or not. Again, it's like what I was describing with the knoll oil on top of the paving stones. It's not necessarily mixing them because they're dry. They are dried paints. It's not sort of not combining as such, but there's something about the unified shade across the top. Just seems to, I don't know. Just gonna find the knoll oil, make sure the lid's on. There we go. It just sort of, I don't know. It unifies the pattern, I suppose. Right, that's not too bad. So what we'll do, I'm now slightly pleased that I didn't use that dry brush after all. But I think this is going to be my final act because we are heading towards the end of my timings. Just yeah, that should work. And just trying to sort of dry brush pretty much all the edges, just to highlight each of the edges to give them what could be construed as a bit of wear and tear. I'm being fairly heavy-handed with this one. I think it'll look alright. And then what we want to do, we'll just do that on the top. Put that over as well. Might need a little bit more. This, for again, keeping score on Terminator Stone. It is an official dry paint. I do use a. I must admit, it's one of those ones where I suppose it's the naivety of when you start. There was a part of me thinking, am I allowed to only dry brush with dry paints? That's fine. I'll buy some dry paints. But it's not. As you saw with my street, you know, that was stippled with white and black, and they are not dry brush paints, despite stippling. We'll do a little bit on this inside, but as I say, it's going to very much yield to black on the inside. But yeah, as I say, the naive thought track of this is, if you want to do dry brushing, surely you very much have to use a dry brush, specifically a dry brush paint, which is distinctly not true. Now, there is one final temptation, although I do want to take off this masking tape, so I suppose isn't this considered one of the satisfying things? No effect yet, but so far so okay. Oh, he let go. That's not a smooth peel. Oh, second side down. Not doing too badly. Oh, it's not, you know, like 100% sealed and perfect, but there's no obvious sort of drops down the side of the wall. There you go. The masking tape did pretty much do what I wanted the masking tape to do, which is good. If you looked too closely, like if you inspect it from the bottom, then you can see it's not a perfectly even line, but that might be it's distinctly possible that that's the application of the stuff in general, let alone nothing to do with anything else. Now this is either going to make it go, ooh, you sexy beast, or it's going to make me go, oh, just fuck that. Now, odds are it's going to actually end up being a combination of both. But it's going to be part of it where it's going to be, oh, you sexy beast. And then very much a part that makes you go, no, you fuck that. Oh, shouldn't really use that knuckle because somewhere along the line I cut that knuckle. But I think it's sufficiently scabbed over. I've now just painted all of my knuckle. It's fine. So I'm just want a sort of edge highlight. Now, I'm a little bit heavy-handed with this, so I suppose arguably you probably wouldn't have an edge highlight on every single edge of the thing, but we'll do it anyway. But I've forgotten the side. No, 1, 2, 3. No, I think they're right. Do some from the opposite direction. As I say, I'm sort of... It's one of those odd little ones where it's like, well... I don't know if it was necessary. 100% say I fucked it, but I don't necessarily think it was hugely necessary. But... I don't know. Yeah. There's just a little white dry brush on the edge. Yeah. I can live with it. Let's put it that way. It's not one of those ones where I think, fuck it, I've done it in complete and utter mischief. I'm never going to be able to repair the damage I've done to that chimney. But anyway, I'm not going to take them off their little pots because I'll be carrying on and doing the rest of this paint job at some point. God knows when, but still. We have a booted and gloved Spoodermoon with his belt. He needs his blue, he needs his red, he needs his present, he needs his logos, he needs his pretty much everything, but, you know, at the moment, he's got his boots. He's got his little booties, which is nice. And then the chimney, I think just needs its insides painted black. Outside of that, I think that chimney is sufficient. Very much sufficient. Sufficient chimney. And then we've got pretty much the basics of our concrete dealt with. Our fantastic floor concrete. And we needed sort of... I think the blue wash... Yeah, I think that there's something to this. I suppose we'll bring it up to the camera. I can't bring it up too close, but it's that one there. It's a little bit lumpy, but that's because there's lumps in the paint. With paint underneath. But I think that one could work. Well, from a distance, I think it does give a bit more of a purple or a maroon, but up close you can sort of see that it is blue with a spackled red. Now I am wondering if I want to go a little bit step further. I'll do some more experiments and see. But I might want to go a step further and possibly use a dark red and a light red as my two stipples. Because usually I'll go with two stipples. Now that's only one stipple. So it's possible that if I go for two stipples, it would improve. But anyway, that was Christmas. So we'll lower the pretzels. And then let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. No, I don't think that's going to be useful. But yeah, we'll go over the old interim slideshow, and then I will probably try and change position, which is going to be awkward. But bear with me a moment. I'll turn the microphone off so you don't hear it. There we go. Not exactly a perfect position, but I'm sat quite awkwardly. But anyway, let's go over here. And all the windows are in the wrong place. That's the other problem. So if you are after more painting tonight, you can check out Mr. Can't Sleep Must Paint, who is also enjoying Christmas, I believe. So that should work. Yay, there we go.
This is so cute. What, the X-Wing or me?
Well, I can't hear anything.
Thank you.
Because I took my headphones out. I wondered why he was.
I don't believe I just did that.
Unusual for him to be silent. So I missed the entirety of that, so I suppose we could just... will this one work? Oh, I see, that's not quite... Oh, I see, because he's not here. That doesn't actually work. That's fair. I was trying an alternate method of finding the username, but it turns out it wasn't available. But yeah, we'll have another one since I missed the first one. And then your other option for tonight, I will get ready.
You're a Van Goblin. Yes, Master. Usually, the Van Goblin apologises for his display of bravado.
There you go. You don't want to miss the Van Goblin.
Van Goblin, sir, he's going to beat you in the 10-1-10 challenge. In the 1-10, the 1-10, the 10-1, the 1-10 challenge, Master. I'm going to take my shoes and I'm going to throw them,
There you go, Mr. Boosh. That's the other thing you and Mr. Can't Sleep were supposed to be doing. The 1-10-1 challenge, or the 10-1-1 challenge, or the... You can put the numbers wherever you like.
I'll say you can get killed by the
I think it's 1 hour, 10 minutes, 1 minute. So yeah, it is 1-10-1.
That's what I'm going to do, Master. I'm going to push you down the stairs, Master, and I'm going to cover you in.
You'll have to see.
Master, and I can't.
I might be able to sort you out with some models if you wanted, so that you're painting the same model for your hour, your same model for your 10 minutes, your same model for your minute, which might be quite nice. But anyway, your other option for tonight is 9 o'clock, Mr. Malacalibur. 9 o'clock for Can't Sleep as well.
See, I think what makes this more frustrating is I know I've already done this. Like, I've done this before in my life. But the fact that I'm not seemingly able to do it now is very frustrating indeed.
I know that feeling.
But yeah, like, that I Want to Be The game, I think it's I want to go to the moon or something like that. No!
Well, unfortunately, he's not going to the moon. He's going back to the beginning of the level.
All my money. I had so much money when I came here. Now I don't. How much longer are you going to attempt this? Oh, until the end of the stream or until I...
Or until he dies, perhaps. I don't know. I assume he did do it, because I'm fairly certain he completed Shovel Knight, but I cannot say that with absolute certainty. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. That will be more Christmas doings. We have another Christmas special tomorrow. So it's not going to be the usual Dragon Quest Builders 2. Whether that makes you happy or sad, I do not know, but I'm going to do a slightly different game for Christmas. And then probably not back until Wednesday, I suspect. Because I don't think there'll be a Saturday. I think that would be sad. And probably lonely, because most other people have things to do on Christmas Day, I suspect. So anyway, I will say cheerio and then shut the stream off, because that I don't think it's worthwhile doing a raid if you were particularly interested in one. I apologise, it's not happening. Anyway, cheerio.